Hey guys, it's Laura here. I hope you're well. I've been at the beach this morning for a swim. My hair is wild. And the lighting is just not the best. That's okay. Say hi if you're on the replay. Say hi if you're joining me live. I'll see you hop on. I wanted to come in today and talk to you a little bit about money mindset. Okay, it's been a huge theme that I've been chatting about money in my content all of this week, and I've been chatting with clients a lot about money too. So it's really interesting how these themes come up and how important money is to our business, right? Like, the funny thing about money, okay, and I've noticed this with the content that I'm sharing this week, is that pretty much everyone wants to make more money in their business. But a lot of people don't want to address some of the things that they need to with money, whether it's the practical stuff. Most people know, I think, that they've got some mindset stuff going on, but I actually think the practical side is just as important as the mindset side. So I'm going to chat with you a bit today about mindset, and I'm going to come back in a week or two and chat about the practical aspects of money, because I think that's just as important. And I think if you want to create more money in your business, you seriously have to address the really practical side. But what I wanted to share today, say hi if you jump on, is the three biggest lies I was telling myself in regards to making more money in my business. And what these are effectively is they're money stories, okay? And the reason I want to share that with you is because I know they're really universal, okay? So what I noticed, and someone made a really interesting point, a really important point in the group this week, was that money mindset and working on it is just something that we are going to need to do again and again in our business, okay? Because here's what I've noticed. I had money mindset work to do when I first started my business and I had no clients. I had money mindset work to do when I started signing my first clients and people wanting to, to get paid for my work. And I had a big chunk of work to do on money mindset. I did a huge dive into my money mindset around July this year, when I set a new financial goal for myself for this year that was a stretch, right? And I had to stretch into that. And the other really interesting thing about money mindset in our business is it kind of doesn't matter what we've earned before in workplaces, because I earned over a six-figure income in my corporate career. So when I resigned 2 years ago, I was earning over six figures, and it kind of was irrelevant to creating my own business. I had so much money mindset stuff come up around creating money in my business, even when it was less than that, and even stretching up to that amount, okay? So don't think that there's something weird or wild or strange if you're like, but I've earned this amount of money before in my workplace and being paid by someone else, but now when I'm creating my own business, it's bringing up a whole bunch of money stories. I think that's really normal, because it's different when we're creating our own business, okay? We have a lot of stories around doing work that we love and working for ourselves and, all of that kind of stuff, creating the income for ourselves versus being paid it by someone else and creating it from a lifestyle that we want. So I think it's completely normal for money stories to arise in your business, even if you have earned more before in your previous workplace or previous sort of career. So I just wanted to put that up front, because I think we can kind of think, well, it's like, why is this like challenging for me to work through when I've created this kind of income before? And just know that that's really normal. So the three biggest lies I was telling myself with regards to money. So it's really interesting, because the stories that you create in your money mindset, a lot of the time, don't even relate to money, but your brain is making a link to money. Okay. All right, I do have some notes, so let me just check on my notes. So money mindset, I'm going to be honest, I think permeates everything in your business, okay? It permeates you showing up and being visible and making offers, the way you price your services, the way that you structure how you work, the number of clients that you work with, just everything, the content that you create. I think money mindset actually goes and impacts everything. And do you know why? Because money mindset and a fear of success are really closely linked, okay? It's really true. And just on a side note, a lot of people go like, I want success, so I don't have a fear of success. But then when I unpack it at another layer, there often really is a fear of success sitting below that desire to have success. So I don't know if any of you resonate with that, but I would love to hear a yes if you catch my drift and you know what I'm talking about. So that was just a really important note, and it's really sneaky, okay? The stories that we tell ourselves in our mind can appear kind of logical. So in some ways we don't even question them, or we don't see that they're a story or a myth that we're telling ourselves. But I want you to know that they are, okay? Because the stories that you're telling yourself are like putting a cap over your head, right? If you believe something to be true, Lyndon says, yes, she knows what I'm talking about. If you've got money stories, even if you want to create a different level of income, but your mind, like your ego voice or your subconscious or whatever you want to call that aspect of the way that your brain works, if it's telling you, like, just say, I'm just going to make something up. Just say you want to create $75,000 a year of income, okay? And you're like, yeah, like that's how much I want. That's going to be amazing. Like that's the goal that I'm setting in my business. But if your ego mind is telling you a whole bunch of other things that aren't in alignment with that, you are going to sabotage your success, okay? It's going to be challenging to move to that goal in a way that feels really great when your mind isn't on board. So the very first step to working on your money mindset, and that's what I'm really going to cover off today, is actually bringing up and creating the awareness of the stories that you're telling yourself. And that's why I'm sharing mine with you, in the hope that it brings up awareness for you of the kind of stories that you're telling yourself. Because once you know what they are, you can work on them. But if they're not super clear, or you haven't quite recognized that they're part of your money story yet, they can be hard to work on. So that's why I've kind of just got a note here that they're super sneaky, because they seem logical. But what it is in the end is like your brain is always going to have some level of comfort with where you are. And it's got this fear of failure, fear of success, wanting to keep you comfortable and safe. So it's going to create all these stories that make you think that it's unsafe to go to the next level. And that's all that they are. They're stories, okay? So I got out my journal and went back to July to look at all the stories I had that I was working through on my money story. And there was about 20. There was about 20 kind of common beliefs that I had that I needed to work through, but I've kind of grouped them together, okay? Hey guys, say hey as you hop on. I've grouped them together because what I can see is there's themes within them, so they kind of fall into a category. So you may see for yourself that the story you may be saying is a little bit similar or a little bit different, but it probably falls under one of these categories, okay? So the first story that I had, which was a bit of a lie that I was telling myself, is that it's too much work to make the amount of money that I want to create. Hey, Sam, it's lovely to see you here. Okay, so that what first one is, it's too much work to make the amount of money I want to. Okay, can anyone relate to that? You're like, I have this goal. I want to, let's just keep our goal of 75,000 to keep it easy. Like, let's say I have this goal of 75,000 and that would be awesome, but it feels like it's going to be a lot of hard work to get there. So maybe I shouldn't really go for that, right? It's such a funny story because we start telling ourselves it's hard. It's going to cost me something to get there. I'm not sure if I'm willing to pay the cost. Like, these were some of the stories that sat within that for me. So I'd love to hear, do you sometimes think like it's probably too much hassle to go and create the income that I want, even though I want it? Is that something that comes up for you? And the reason I know it's a lie is like, it makes no sense, right? Like, if you're earning more money, you can outsource more stuff. You can actually make your life easier, right? It doesn't mean, another thing that is a conditioning that we've been told is that you need to work hard to make money. And the belief that I wanted to create was actually working smarter creates more money. Because I had so many layers of stuff, I'm not going to lie, but like, think about someone like Oprah, right? I don't know how much she earns a year or how much she's even worth, but like, she's probably millions and millions and millions, right? And I'm not making anywhere near 1 million. So is she working like 1 million times harder than me to create that income? Like, no, it doesn't make logical sense. Like, logically, she cannot work 1 million times harder or create 1 million more hours in the day. So there's this disconnect with the way that we think. It seems logical. Like, it seems logical that I will have to work a lot harder and there will be costs to earn the income that I want. But when we debunk it and unpack it, it's just not true, right? You can work smarter. That's the belief that I wanted to form, that people who are earning significantly more than me cannot physically be working that many multiple times harder than me. So it's purely a myth. And I took it, as a great thing to think about. Like, think of all the things I can outsource and actually scale and leverage further by growing my income. So we put these things on it that aren't necessarily related. I hope that makes sense, where the story does appear to be true, but we're putting like conditioning and our fears into a story that's not necessarily true. So that was the first one. I'd love to hear if you guys resonate with that one, or if that's something that's come up for you, is that I'll have to work too hard. I don't want to work that hard. Money's hard to earn, so it's going to be hard to create that much income. All those sorts of things sit within that category. Okay. The second one is a biggie. And I think I was just having a coaching session with something similar to this, is like, it's greedy to want more. Okay. And I think an offshoot of that is that I should be happy with what I have already. Okay. Who resonates with thinking that way? Right. And it's funny because it's like, there's what's the word I'm looking for? There's like a separation, because we want to create more money, but then we're like almost making ourselves bad or making ourselves wrong for wanting that, because we should be grateful for what we have already. And again, they're completely not related, are they? Like, creating a certain level of income in your business has nothing to do with being grateful for what you have right now. Lyndon's saying, yep, she resonates with that one. Creating more in your business has nothing to do with being grateful for what you have already, right? We're humans. I believe we are wired for growth. We are always going to be wanting to stretch and grow into more, especially people in business, especially coaches. We're all into personal development. We love stretching and growing ourselves. Money's going to be a great way to do that, because honestly, business and money are like the root of so much personal development and growth. It's insane. So isn't it funny how we're like, I have this desire, I want to create a certain level of income, but then we're trying to talk ourselves out of it and make ourselves wrong for it with a different part of our brain. I want to create $75,000 a year of income, but that's probably a wrong thing to do, and that's really greedy, and I probably shouldn't do that, right? It makes no sense. So again, it's a lie. It's a story that we're telling ourselves. It's our ego mind wanting to keep us safe, right? Just wanting to keep us safe. And I just got off a call with a client. We were chatting about this, like, how are we going to change the world if we keeping ourselves just having enough, right? How are we going to change the world if we just have enough ourselves to get by? Changing the world, helping those less fortunate than us, comes from us having a surplus, and then we can do more with that. Okay, but we can't do that when we're in this state of kind of survival and getting by. So I actually believe the complete opposite is true, that it's not greedy to want more, that it's like a vehicle of our growth, and our ability to make an impact beyond ourselves comes from having more than we need, from that overflow we can give, as they always say. So a bit of a lie that I was telling myself. I know many of you are going to resonate with it, and just, if we have a desire on our heart, whether it's to create a business, to make this impact, to make this an income, nothing is going to come of making ourselves wrong for wanting it. We're just going to put ourselves in like a space of disconnect, right? So I think I said something along this the other day, is that the freedom comes from accepting and owning our desire to want more money and not making it wrong, and stepping into ownership of that. And from there we can create it. But while we're debating ourselves, warring in our heads in a sort of disconnect, it's really hard to step into that. So I hope that makes sense. All right. The third lie that I was telling myself, this is a big one. And I think this is at the core of so much of, all of the work we do in coaching, is that I'm not good enough, worthy enough, deserving enough of having the money that I desire. Now, I know many of you are going to relate to that. It's like, I want to create this income of $75,000 a year, but am I good enough? Am I worthy? Do I really deserve it? Okay. And, from the outside, it can feel like a logical thing to be questioning, but it makes no sense, because here's what I know to be true, and it's really empowering about money. Money doesn't follow deservingness. Money doesn't follow good or bad or worth or anything like that. Money follows a decision to create more money, right? And clearing any of the blocks that you have in the way of doing that. So think about it as like a matrix. Like, we can think of people that in our society would say are less deserving of money, who have plenty of money, right? And we can also see people who are amazing and have plenty of money. I mean, we can just use Oprah as an example, right? We can see people who are really deserving of money and, doing amazing things in the world, and for whatever reason, they don't have money, right? So you could draw like this whole matrix of people that are worthy and amazing that have money, people that are worthy and amazing and don't have money, people who, we might say are less than worthy. I mean, who puts that metric on? I'm not sure, but like, we could think of examples of people where we're like, are they really like that worthy and deserving of money? And they have money. And then there are probably people who are not very worthy and deserving and who don't have money, right? So money has nothing to do with people being good or bad, evil, deserving, worthy, any of that. Money comes from people deciding and creating and stepping into ownership of it, and just owning that that's what they want to go for. Money follows the decision and the action and value, okay? If you're creating value in the world and you've made a decision to create money from that, that's what money flows to. It doesn't flow to good, bad, worthy, deserving, okay? We put this really emotional, this really emotional tie on money that doesn't exist. So what I found in my work with money mindset is that we need to take the negative and emotional charge out of it, because money is so objective, right? I just had this call, and I'm just going to share this example. I'm not going to say who I was chatting with, but it was the same thing about guilt around having money, right? Because I feel guilty if I have money, because some people don't have money. And then I was like, well, do you feel guilty when you have a glass of water? Right? Because some people don't have a glass of fresh water, but we never think about that when we're having a glass of water. Do you feel guilty when you go to bed at night because you've got a roof over your head and a bed? Like, no, we don't generally feel guilty about that, but there are people in the world who don't have that. And so the reason I'm just giving these as examples is we attach a lot of emotion to money that we don't attach to other things that are pretty similar, like fresh water, a roof over our head, food on the table, like things that we, are quite basic to human survival. Not everyone has, yet a lot of the time we don't walk around feeling guilty of that. So I think it's a really great example to highlight for yourself. Like, what I'm wanting to do is bring up self-awareness. Like, what stories are you currently telling yourself that aren't in alignment with where you want to go, right? That's the most important first step of working on your money mindset. It's identifying the stories, identifying the emotions that you're attaching to it, and working through those, and just treating money as something that is part of business that you're allowed to have, that there is nothing wrong with having a desire to create more of. And then you can create the income that you want from there. That's what I actually think is the biggest block for people with money, is that they're in this disconnect between what they want and what they're telling themselves. Okay, can you guys resonate? It's like, what I want is this, but the stories I'm telling myself don't relate or don't align right? So it's really hard to create. If you think money makes people evil, it's really hard to create a lot of money in your life. If you think being successful and having money means people won't like you, no matter how much you want to create, you are going to sabotage somewhere along the way and make that journey a lot harder than it needs to be, right? If you think that you aren't worthy of having the money that you desire, how are you going to create it? It's really hard to execute all the strategies in your business, maybe in your life, in your personal life, with your personal finances, if that misalignment is there. So catch yourself with the lies that you're telling yourself. Them, you may not even see them as lies. I don't actually call them lies to myself when I see them. I'm like, the story I'm telling myself is, it's going to be hard to create that. The story I'm telling myself is like, I feel that I'm not worthy of that. The story that I'm telling myself is that, you know, money is evil and therefore me wanting it is evil. Okay. When we identify those stories, then we can create the change. And that's a huge part of, I think it was your question, Lyndon, creating an abundance mindset is giving ourselves full permission to access everything that the world has to offer, right? And being really grateful, yes, for what we already have, and grateful for everything that we can and want to create, right? There's an energy that's so different from that than acting in that scarcity and lack mindset. Even the decisions that you make, making decisions, I have had this experience where I've made decisions in my business and made investments from a space of lack or a space of desperation, like clinginess, because almost like the ego mind didn't think it was possible, but maybe this would be the thing that would fix it, even though I didn't really believe it, versus knowing like I can tap into exactly what I want and making the exact same investment from the mind space of, I know exactly what I want and I know exactly that this is the thing that's going to take me there. That is such a different mindset to like, I don't really think this is going to work, but maybe I should just try this thing just so I can tick it off and be 100% certain that it's not going to work, right? Like, who has made decisions from that space versus that abundance space? Like, I think you guys will know what I'm talking about. And I've hired coaches for myself from both the different mindsets, and I can see the huge impact it had on my results. Okay. So an abundance mindset, I believe, is a belief that you can tap into and create anything you want. And a lack mindset is like, I can't actually have what I want, right? Or like, what I want is wrong, so I don't really believe I can have it. Just those kinds of things. So I want to keep that short today, but let me know. I know there's a couple of people on. Let me know if you've got any specific questions while I recap, and then I'll wrap up the call or the live training, really. So the three biggest lies that I was telling myself were around, it's too much and too much work to create the income that I want. It's greedy to want more, and that I'm not some version, some story of good enough to create what I want. And what these effectively do is sabotage you from taking the action and creating the result that you want in your business. You can't always see that, but as the awareness comes up, you start to see, oh, that's my fear of success. That's my fear of what everyone else is going to think about me and think that I'm a bad person if I'm creating the income that I want, right? You start to see it play out. And it's really interesting to observe, and that's why it's this huge piece of self-development and growth, is working through your money mindset and your money stories. And once you have that self-awareness, that's when you can change them. But you can't change what you don't know, right? So you must first bring that awareness to the stories that you're telling yourself to be able to change them. And I do have activities that I work with my clients around changing the stories. So that's something that we can work to. Kristen's on. Lyndon said, you've talked to my questions. Thanks. That's beautiful. I'm glad that's helped. And we can dive into some more stuff if you've got more questions. I've got activities that I work with my clients on too, around rewriting their stories and bringing out the awareness so that they can create the change with the stories that they have. So I hope that helps. I hope you guys have a fabulous rest of the Friday, and I'll be back here chatting very soon. Bye.